All right, thank you very much, Senator Sam Nunn, who's chairman of the Senate Armed Services Committee. He may be at the White House before this evening is over. At the Pentagon right now, NBC's Pentagon correspondent Fred Francis, who has been particularly busy tonight. Fred, all the indications is that an attack is underway. We do not want to be preemptive here, but what are you hearing at the Pentagon?
Tom, there's been a certain up-tempo here for the last couple of hours. Remember that this war will not be fought from the Pentagon. If it is war, it will be fought from Riyadh, that command center. But all the signs have been unmistakable. It could be one grand rehearsal, sort of psychological operations, but it's highly unlikely. And the time is perfect, Tom. It doesn't take a rocket scientist in either Baghdad or this building to figure out that the United States fights best at night. And we are in a phase right now where we have 5 moonless nights, and there's still a couple of hours of daylight and darkness in Baghdad, and it is the window for combat.
All right, Fred, the whole world knows by now that the United States plan is to go in with massive airstrikes. What are the targets in Baghdad, the capital of Iraq?
The number one target, Saddam Hussein himself and the leadership. For 5 months now, U.S. intelligence has been tracking Saddam Hussein, tracking his generals, where they work, where they sleep. So that's the primary target, knock out the military leadership. The secondary targets in Baghdad are all the communications facilities, because the Iraqi military is centralized. All the orders come from Baghdad. So if you can knock down their communications, you can cripple them in the field. So the primary target, Saddam and the communications facilities, and you do that at night.
And Fred Francis, let me ask you as well, Baghdad is a low-level city. That is, it's not tightly compacted like Beirut and so on, so they'll be able to find those targets. They'll know which ones they're going to hit, and hopefully they'll confine the spillover into the civilian neighborhoods?
I would not say so, Tom. There's so many targets in Baghdad. Someone told me 12 to 20 that have to go right away. And there's no such thing, Tom, as a surgical strike. We learned that in Panama. We certainly learned that in Libya, where we sent 9 aircraft in after Muammar Gaddafi, and only 2 dropped their weapons, and they still missed him. Right. So surgical strikes are a thing of the past, or of novels, in fact.
All right. Thank you very much, Fred Francis. We can now tell you that the attack is underway. There have been a number of reports, even from Baghdad itself, of flashes in the sky over that city at this hour. Reporting live anti-aircraft fire going into the air at about 2300 Greenwich Mean Time. That means that it's about 3 o'clock in the morning, or approaching that in Baghdad right now. President Bush has said that once the UN deadline passes, that war could come at any time. One cannot say that Saddam Hussein has not had adequate warning on all of this. So that's the situation so far as we know it. At this hour, NBC's Mike Betcher is in Saudi Arabia tonight. And Mike Betcher, are you seeing any additional activity or getting any word there about what may be happening?
Well, Tom, there have been no takeoffs since I talked to you last. As I said, in about a 45-minute period, we had about at least 20 takeoffs of jets with afterburners glowing. So far, no unusual activity. If there is a counterattack, we'll know very quickly here. There are jets flying now, but it is a commercial jet, which is unusual. You wouldn't think a commercial jet would be flying at a time when there's a major air attack going, but the plane flying over now is commercial. Conflicting signals, but it does appear that war has indeed begun.
All right, thanks very much, NBC's Mike Betcher tonight. Ed Peck is a man who's familiar with Baghdad and with Iraq and with Saddam Hussein. He's standing by in our Washington studios at this hour. Mr. Peck, it's going to be helpful for the American audience to understand the character of the city of Baghdad. You have been there in the past. It's a big place. It's spread out over a wide range. What are the chances that there will be unusual civilian casualties, deaths and wounded, as a result of a bombing attack, no matter how pinpoint that may be?
Well, that's the key question. What targets are they going for? You're quite right. It's a very spread out city. They don't build high. They build wide because land is plentiful. Reminds you of Los Angeles in a sense. Built around the curves in the river. The population centers themselves are everywhere, and some of them approach and are on the edges of the military bases, on the edges of the city. And of course, the governmental headquarters are located in a very densely populated part of the city, right in one of the major bends of the river.
fact of the matter is, when I was there over the weekend, there were any number of buildings that were easily identified as highly secure buildings, and they were tucked in close to the hotels and the commercial districts as well. If there is a loss of life that goes well beyond the Iraqi leadership, that is children, let's talk about that, and innocent civilians, what is likely to be the reaction in the Muslim world, even with the alliance that has been cobbled together by President Bush?
Well, you're talking now about what happens after this war, and it's a key time to raise the issues, because the Muslims, and the Arabs in particular, will feel very strongly that this is a terrible thing that's happened, and it be seen as having been done by the Americans. So that the reaction, I think, worldwide, wherever there are Arabs and Muslims, are going to be that their people are being hit. And no one likes to see that. I mean, you know, we can do what we want with our own folks, but don't welcome outsiders becoming involved.
For the past several weeks now, you and I have been trying to get into the mind of Saddam Hussein. You know him well. You met with him when you were serving in the U.S. Embassy there. Any chance that he will be so impressed, indeed terrified by what is going on tonight, that he will emerge from the bunker tomorrow morning and say, okay, I surrender?
You know, I have a difficult time imagining him as being terrified. He just does not have the personality and the mentality to begin with, and the 25 years of being a form of demigod has certainly solidified him in thinking that whatever he's doing is the right thing. But it is entirely possible, or it's conceivable at least, that if he gets badly savaged in Kuwait and maybe in Baghdad itself by these attacks, which are apparently underway, that he may be able to come out and say, okay, I did what had to be done, and now I step back and you guys win. Still, I have a hard time visualizing him doing even that.
Thank you, bro.
Flexibility is not his middle name.
All right, Ed Peck will ask you as well to be standing by tonight, because it does now appear certain that an attack is underway. Of what dimensions we cannot say, what the targets are we can't say as well, but there are reports from Baghdad, the Iraqi capital, of tracer fire in the air, sirens sounding, and planes that have been taking off, including the big AWACS planes. Those are the advanced warning planes that go up and they activate all of the radar so they can keep track of the air traffic and help the planes. Fred Francis at the Pentagon with late news for us right now. Fred?
Tom, apparently what has happened is the United States, more than an hour ago, fired some missiles in the direction of Baghdad. I am told by a senior official that the planes are not actually over Baghdad at the moment, but what witnesses are seeing in the air, those traces are firing at things that are moving low and slow, which would indicate to me and to the source with whom I just spoke that the United States has fired Tomahawk cruise missiles at certain targets in Baghdad. So I'm not saying it is not an all-out air attack. We may be seeing the preliminaries of an air attack, which we always predicted would be started by cruise missiles, which cannot be shot down very easily.
And Fred, what about the accuracy of those cruise missiles? Do they hone right in?
Yes, Tom, they can be fired from ships in the Persian Gulf and go all the way to Baghdad. In fact, their range 700 miles, and these cruise missiles can hit a target within a 25 feet of center at 700 miles. Never been tested in combat. Nobody ever knew if they would work in combat, and I guess we're going to have to wait a while to find out if they in fact did work. At $1 million apiece, they've been on Navy ships for several years, and we were told authoritatively here over the last several days that they would be used in the opening stages of any conflict with Iraq. And from a senior source who just spoke with NBC News, they said something flying low and slow was fired at Baghdad more than an hour ago, so that would have been approximately 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and or approximately 1 o'clock in Baghdad. So we're going to have to wait and see, but apparently we have begun some form of attack on key installations in Iraq.
All right, thanks very much, Fred Francis. I'll just set your clock for you again, if I can. In Baghdad at this hour, it would be coming up on 2:50 in the morning there. It would be the ideal time based on all the descriptions that we've had of military planners about when they would want to launch the attack. There is some religious sensitivity in that area. Friday is the Muslim Sabbath, of course, and the deadline now is more than, well, just about 24 hours old on Saddam Hussein's opportunity to get out of Kuwait. That's the deadline imposed by the United Nations, backed up and reinforced by President Bush. It does appear that an attack of some kind, what dimensions we cannot say, is underway tonight on Baghdad itself and perhaps other military targets in Iraq. As soon as we can learn more, we'll be back to you with additional details.
One day there was just too much gray. I thought, should I or shouldn't I? I didn't. I was afraid it might look phony. I wanted natural-looking color, and I wanted to do it fast and easy, with no pouring and mixing. Nobody else could give me what I wanted until Clairol Option Instant for Men. I figured if it's from Clairol, I could trust it. I could. I went from gray to my natural-looking color in 5 easy minutes. My hair looks great, feels great. When I look in the mirror, I don't see gray. I see me.
Do it right with Option, also in gradual formula.
I used to feel so guilty about snacking until I found the perfect snack, Sunsweet pitted prunes. They're just bursting with flavor and so naturally sweet. Perfect. Only one prune tastes Sunsweet.
I've got to pick up some Vaseline Intensive Care lotion. My skin's so dry.
How do you get dry skin?
From doing dishes and housework. And someday you'll be old enough to help me.
What? And get dry skin?
We're back. We want to tell you that there's an attack underway on Iraq, on the city of Baghdad, perhaps by Tomahawk cruise missiles launched from the sea. We do not know yet the scope of this attack. We do have on the telephone right now NBC's Tom Aspel. It is approaching 3 a.m. there, and Tom Aspel is in a hotel. Tom, what are you seeing and hearing at this moment?
Tom, here in downtown Baghdad, I'm looking slightly west towards the airport. For the last 15 minutes, here it is, it's starting again. For the last 15 minutes, we've seen the sky lit up with tracer, anti-aircraft guns firing right up in the air, near the television center, near the airport on the edge of the city, and several other locations. We do not hear any incoming. We have not heard any incoming yet, so perhaps this is a false alarm. Some more tracer, I'm just looking out over towards the airport now, some more tracer going up in the air, the odd bang, but lights are going out in the city now. About 15 minutes ago, there were air raid sirens all over the city. No traffic moving on the street. Here in the hotel, there are probably about 100 guests, everybody down in the shelter now. But I have not heard any incoming yet, Tom. We heard what sounded like engines, what sounded like jet engines, just very faint, and then all the guns all over the city opened up. But we have not heard a bomb or a missile. Tom?
All right, Tom Aspel, what about the activity in the hotel itself? Have they shut off the power? Is there any television transmission going on or radio transmission that you can tell us about?
As far as I know, Tom, we are down to emergency power in the hotel, which means just emergency lighting. Here in the NBC office, we're on the 6th floor. We're looking over the city. The hotel and the grounds are dark. The area around the edge of the hotel is dark. But the stairway lights are on. And all the guests in the hotel and the staff were hustled very quickly. About 15 minutes ago, security men just appeared from nowhere. Very politely directed everybody to the stairway and said, go down to the shelter, go down to the shelter. So most people are about 3 floors underground in a shelter. There are polite people all over the hotel. And just emergency lighting, Tom. Now I'm looking out over the city again. I don't see any more anti-aircraft fire. But for a while there, it was quite heavy. But as I say, no bombs have fallen, at least not that we can tell. A couple of heavy crumps out there by the airport, but difficult to say whether they were bombs or just maybe a caliber of the heavier kind firing up in the air.
What else is out there by the airport, Tom, on the western edge of the city? What may be the primary targets in that area, besides the airport itself?
I would think there probably are a couple of radar installations out there, and I know there's an important military base out there. I've seen that airborne control system, the AWACS plane that the Iraqis have. I've often seen that out there. There is a military base also next, a military air base at least next to the airport. That's possibly a target, but I'm guessing, Tom, but I would think that would have been some sort of recon flight, just by the sound we heard of the engines and then suddenly a lot of firing.
Yeah, we were talking the other day, Tom Aspel, about your experiences there during the Iranian-Iraq war, and when you said the Iranians made an air attack on the city of Baghdad, missiles went up from neighborhoods all over the city?
That's correct, Tom. The Iraqis seemed at that time, that's 10 years ago, they seemed to have a lot of SAM-6 batteries all over the city in those days. But we have not seen a missile go up tonight, just sort of heavy caliber anti-aircraft guns.
All right,
I'm sure if they used their air defense missile systems, I'm sure we would have seen the fireworks all over the sky, and there hasn't been anything that big yet, Tom.
All right, Tom Aspel, stay on the telephone if you would, please, and keep your head down. We're going to go now to Saudi Arabia, where NBC's Arthur Kent has posted. He has an update for us now on what kind of aircraft took off and how many. Arthur?
Tom, we're still trying to get an accurate fix on the number of aircraft that were scrambled from this very large air base here in northeastern Saudi Arabia. However, it would seem, based on the information that we just heard from Fred at the Pentagon recently, If indeed what we're talking about is a long distance, an attack by long distance by guided missile, the scrambling of F-15 and Tornado aircraft here would be consistent with an increased protection of the northern border of Saudi Arabia with Kuwait and with Iraq. You mentioned that AWACS planes have been taking off from Riyadh. They will be positioning themselves in quadrants across the northern border of Saudi Arabia and trying to direct these American and Saudi interceptors into place to keep that border sealed. Perhaps there will be a counterstrike by Iraqi aircraft. That's the sort of thing that has to be guarded against. No indication yet that any of the aircraft here have actually been scrambled to cross the border and to cross into Kuwait or Iraq and attack Iraqi positions. Tom?
Okay, Arthur Kent, you'll be at your post in Saudi Arabia. We're going to return now to the Defense Department at his post at the Pentagon as NBC's Fred Francis. Fred, what do you have for us, first of all, that is the very latest information?
Tom, we know that approximately 1 hour ago that the United States fired something flying low and slow in the general direction of Baghdad. We were told it was probably a Tomahawk cruise missile. Possible explanation for what we're hearing here, and I agree with my colleague Arthur Kent in Saudi Arabia, is that we may be teasing the entire air defense system of Baghdad. We may have hit a couple targets outside the city. There may be other military targets that were hit around the country that we don't know about and may not know about for quite some time. But clearly, we have touched off their entire air defense warning system. We have got them to light up all their targeting radars and fire a great many missiles based on what Tom Aspel has told us from the hotel in Baghdad. So we may not be seeing an all-out attack on Baghdad itself right now. What we may be seeing is some psychological operations, and other targets may have been hit. So that's one serious possibility.
Fred, isn't there the possibility as well that we deliberately wanted them to light up their radar so that we would know where they are? Thank you very much for the roadmap. And then the key to any successful air attack would be to knock out those radar systems, since they would guide the Iraqi missiles.
Exactly. One thing Iraq has in abundance, and one thing that has worried military planners here at the Pentagon, is a ragged but a very widespread air defense system where they can fire missiles into the air and fire bullets, rounds into the air everywhere. But most of those are directed by radar systems. So if you can knock out those radars, if the electronic intelligence can be sucked up from those radar systems, the aircraft, those AWACS, can see where they are, and other planes can see where those radars are, and they send missiles at those radars. Once those radars are knocked out, the air defense system is knocked out. And one of the reasons for conducting an attack at 2 o'clock in the morning, or roughly that hour in Baghdad, is you do that for several hours, and then in the morning you send reconnaissance planes over to do battle damage assessment. It's just a battle damage assessment to see how much you have destroyed, and then you target a follow-on attack. So again, a great deal of this is speculation, but those are the battle tactics which are doctrine in the United States Air Force, the Navy, and in this building.
Fred will let you attempt to find out some more information as we return now to Baghdad, to NBC's Tom Aspel, who is on the telephone from there, the 6th floor of the Hotel Rashid, looking out across the city. What are you seeing now, Tom Aspel?
Very quiet out here now, Tom. Not a shot going up now. Power's still off in the hotel here. Very quiet in the city. No cars moving now. A bit of a feeling that maybe something spooked all the gunners and maybe one followed another, but something's up for sure. They had air raid sirens about 20 minutes ago. Just a quick burst seemed to come from 4 or 5 different directions on this side of the river, here towards the western side of the city. Looking from here towards the airport, it's quiet.
And no Iraqi air activity, I gather.
Negative, Tom. We've not heard a plane. Just at the start, about, say, 20 minutes ago, maybe 25 minutes ago, we thought we heard a jet engine way out towards the western side of the city, and that's when the firing started. It could well have been something to spook the Iraqis. We just don't know at this stage, but it's very quiet. Everybody from the hotel down in the shelters now, and I'm looking over what's normally a road that would probably carry a car at this time. 3 o'clock in the morning, probably carry a car every 10, 20 seconds or so, but just nothing moving there. Tom?
All right, thank you very much. Tom Aspel, who is on the telephone from Baghdad for us, and NBC's Mike Betcher is in Saudi Arabia. Mike, what are you hearing there?
Tom, we've just received a pool report from the Pentagon pool. A reporter is saying, is quoting an official release from military officials, at a air base in central Saudi Arabia that F-15E fighter bombers armed with cannon and air-to-air missiles and loaded with bombs and long-range underwing fuel tanks took off there this evening to destinations unknown. So that is another air base in Saudi Arabia where we have confirmation that there was much activity, that many fighter bombers took off, F-15Es, to destinations unknown. These fighter bombers can be used to attack ground forces as well if they are loaded with the underwing bombs, and that could be one use, but we just have to speculate right now. Tom?
NBC's Mike Betcher. Let me ask Fred Francis at the Pentagon if we could get him. Tom Aspel, let me ask you whether you're seeing any air activity over the city at this hour.
Tom, here it goes. Here it goes now. The sky just full of tracer now. And there's a very big explosion right off to the west of the city there, just winking. Here it comes now, Tom. There's a very big bang right out on the western side of the city. And now guns, there you go. You can hear that, Tom. There are guns, and there's more explosions on the western edge of the city. There's red tracer, white tracer. It's going up all over the place. I haven't seen a missile yet. Another big green flash out towards the airport. You can only see in one direction here, Tom, but let me see if I can get just over towards the edge of the window. Maybe you can hear this. Wow, what a sight. What a sight. A lot of flak going up in the air, all these tracers crossing, white blinking. Two big explosions. I can now see a pool of smoke out there. One was red, one was green. Maybe some kind of flare. We're just not up on a war of the 90s. You know, we don't know what these explosions mean. We've never seen them before. We don't know how to recognize exactly what they are.
Are you hearing any airplanes?
Not yet, Tom. We do not hear any airplanes yet. Another big flash on the edge of the city.
Tom Aspel, yeah, I'm afraid that we have lost that telephone connection. We trust that it was just interrupted and that he is okay. He was reporting to us from a hotel in the heart of Baghdad. I will tell you that Tom Aspel is a man who is a veteran of many wars and also of that particular part of the world. The attack clearly is underway. The airport west of the city has now been the site of several explosions. Tracers have been fired. So far, no airplanes heard by Tom Aspel. That does mean that it's consistent with what Fred Francis was reporting. Probably Tomahawk cruise missiles fired from the sea are the first wave of attack being carried out by them, perhaps to soften up the city, to knock out the radar, which can launch the Iraqi missiles. NBC's Fred Francis, what do you have for us?
Tom, while our colleague Tom Aspel was describing what he was seeing, I was on the phone with a senior military official who was also listening to that description, and he said, those are cruise missiles. That's what it sounds like, cruise missiles. And so, again, the prime targets, communication centers and bunkers in Baghdad, and every evidence, also from what we've heard from Mike Betcher in Dhahran, that the JIB there, the Joint Information Bureau, has released that F-15E fighters have taken off fully loaded. Those are the ground attack versions of the F-15s. So clearly we have the early stages of an attack, perhaps just to light off everything in Baghdad and the other military bases, perhaps an all-out attack where there is still approximately 3 hours, 2.5 to 3 hours of nightfall, black night, over Iraq. Tom?
Fred Francis, the F-15Es, however, would not be the primary airplanes, would they, for an attack on Baghdad?
No, not at all. The primary aircraft for the attack on Baghdad would be the stealth fighter, used only one time, two of them in Panama. They didn't cover themselves with glory there, but since then they have practiced this kind of raid, and they've been practicing over there for 5 months. That stealth fighter is uniquely suited for this type of attack because it was designed to go against Soviet radar and Soviet air defense systems, which is what is ringing the capital of Baghdad. The stealth fighter can fly in without being seen by those air defense radars and attack targets. But from what we heard from our colleague Tom Aspel, I do not think we were listening to stealth fighters attacking the city of Baghdad. I think we were listening to Tomahawk cruise missiles fired from Navy ships, and that's the best guess we have at this moment.
Certainly we would have heard the airplanes, or Tom Aspel would have heard those airplanes had they gone in, because there would have been an enormous fleet of them. So it is conceivable, let's just talk for a moment. What's going on here is that they send in the cruise missiles to light up the system, in effect, to take out some of the radar installations. Then they know what they're up against, and the AWACS, which are in the air, those big, cumbersome-looking airplanes, that it's an air warning surveillance system, they can tell the F-111s and the stealths and the other attack bombers what to look for.